Hi there, my name is Destiny. This is extremely awkward and I have filmed this video at least 5 times now. I don't know why, but making YouTube videos always stresses me out quite a bit. Anyways, if you've never seen me before, you can find me over on Instagram. I have a personal account and a knitting account called DesSitsandKnits. I have been doing a 5-minute knitting podcast over on my IGTVs, but I decided I wanted to just switch it over to YouTube and hopefully I can manage it. I also have a Ravelry and I can never remember my username, but I will have it somewhere on the screen, and I'll also have my project page linked down below. I live in Arizona with my husband, my 3 kids, and a million animals. So if you hear various sounds, it is either my cats, my dogs, or my lizards. I have worked very hard to try to make the house as quiet as possible. I had to plan this video out a lot in advance so that all of the kids could be out of the house. I had to turn off all the AC units, make sure the dogs were fed so you didn't hear them munching in the background. It's a lot to be able to try to sit down and record, and that's honestly why I don't make videos that often, is because I feel like there's always so much going on. I can't focus. I have a 4-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and I knit a lot of stuff for them. I primarily knit baby things because I love knitting tiny, cute things for my children. They're super fast. I can bust things out in a few days usually, but I'm trying to get more into knitting things for myself because I actually love sweaters and beanies. That's my favorite things to wear, so I figure why not just make them for myself. So this is just going to be a mixture of both of those things. Lots of baby knits, hopefully some adult size knits. I just tend to be very indecisive when it comes to knitting stuff for myself because it's such a large quantity of yarn and it's usually a bit of investment, so I never actually commit to knitting myself something. I just buy the yarn and I think about it for a while. So I'm rambling on a bit. I'm just going to get started talking. I'm sure the first few episodes of this podcast are going to be a little awkward, but hopefully I'll get into a good flow of it. My goal is to film at the end of every month and kind of just do a monthly recap. So these are going to be my makes for the month of July. I am missing 2 things because I have already gifted them to people. And one of the things I'm showing you I actually did finish in June. So that's what I'm going to start with. Let me just take a drink of water. I normally would be drinking iced tea right now, but I'm actually going to a tea service today with my family and my mom and my sister, so I'm trying not to have too much caffeine or sugar till I get there. I'm very caffeine sensitive. I usually do decaf. So anyways, the first thing I'm going to show you is a sweater that I knit. There is a long story behind this. If you follow me on Instagram, you may know some of the background for it, but basically I had never knit myself anything. And my goal for 2021, my resolution, if you will, was to knit myself a sweater. I'm very picky when it comes to buying clothes for myself. I feel like nothing fits me right. I have a very particular style. So I spent a long time trying to find the perfect pattern to knit myself. Eventually I chose sweater number 14 V-neck by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It was everything I wanted. I really prefer V-neck cuts on me. I feel like anything that has like a high neckline looks really awkward on my body type. I don't know why. Then I spent a few months trying to decide on the yarn I wanted to use. I bought multiple different colors of yarn and I did so many gauge swatches to try to find the right combination, and eventually I came up with this. So what I ended up using was 1 strand of Drops Flora in the color brown with 1 strand of Drops Kid Silk in the color beige. It does call for 2 strands of mohair. I opted to just do 1 because, again, I live in Arizona. I didn't want it to be a super fluffy sweater, and I also didn't want it to be like that dense. I wanted it to have more of an open, airy texture so that it wasn't too warm for me to wear. And I'm going to show that to you real quick. So this is my sweater. Like I said, sweater number 14 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I love this sweater, but I have a lot to say about it, so I'm just gonna slow down. I knit it pretty much to pattern. I used the recommended needle size. The only thing I changed again was only using 1 strand of mohair instead of 2. I knit the second size. Now here is something about me. I am really bad at guessing what size I should be, and I always think that I always end up buying or knitting a bigger size than what's recommended. So I measured myself. I definitely should have been a size 1, but I knit a size 2 anyway. It's pretty baggy. I'll try it on for you in some extra footage, but yeah, I love this color. It's super me. This was such a fast knit. I had expected this to take me a few months. I thought for sure it would take me 2 to 3 months, and it took me 3 weeks. However, I cast on and then I didn't touch it for a week. I had just cast on, and then it took me 2 weeks after that. So technically it only took me 2 weeks to knit this sweater, and that was a very casual 2 weeks. I probably could have had it done in a week if I was like trying to rush through it. The biggest holdup I had is we were going on a trip to California, and it's about a 6-hour drive, and I was like, it would be so nice to just have it joined in the round and just be able to work on the body for the drive. It'll be perfect. So I was trying to rush through joining it in the round so that I could knit the body for the drive, and in that rush I twisted this panel completely around, and it was a disaster, and I didn't realize I had done it till I was already several rows in. So I had to pull out hundreds of stitches, try to get it all back on the needles, and it was a disaster. I had a little panic, probably cried a bit, wanted to quit, but I didn't, and I finished the sweater. And I love it so much. However, I'm either going to be frogging this or giving it to someone because I want to knit it again without the mohair, and I'm just going to hold 2 strands of the Drops Flora because it's just not a very practical sweater for me to wear with the mohair. I get very easily overwhelmed, and for some reason like the fluffiness of the mohair overwhelms me, and especially with breastfeeding and baby wearing, which is something I do all day every day with 3 kids. This was just really hard to manage. So I think that if it wasn't as fluffy and if there wasn't constantly mohair flying in my face, I would get a lot more wear out of this. So that is my plan. You might see this sweater again in the next month or 2 because I am going to order some more of the Drops Flora and just knit it without the mohair because I really love this sweater. And I'm honestly probably going to knit the smaller size but make it a bit longer because I think it'll be more flattering on me if it's a size 1 but like the length of a 2. There we have it, sweater number 14, a sweater that I love and will be frogging. I'm hoping I can find somebody that wants to take this because I'd rather not have to frog it and like separate the mohair from the fingering weight yarn because that is just miserable. So I think that's everything I have to say about this sweater. Really beautiful. I love my favorite things knitwear, and I want to knit a bunch of her designs. So the next finished object I have is a baby sweater. This also has a bit of backstory to it. So I have been getting into dyeing my own yarn. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I was never brave enough. It seems like a long process, and it really is. But my friend Emily dyed some yarn and she sent some to me, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. So I ordered some supplies, and I have been playing around with it for the last month or 2. Now, my friend Emily has a daughter who really loves the color purple, and I was like, I'm just gonna dye up some yarn to send to her so she can knit her daughter something. And I loved how it came out. It was so beautiful, so I kept one of the skeins for myself to knit my daughter something because she is 2 years old and loves all things princess and purple. I don't know how it happened. I'm like the least feminine person in the world, but she is who she is. And when I saw this yarn, I was like, this is so her. I need to make her something. And it was a fingering weight yarn, so I decided I was going to knit a baby Ranunculus. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this pattern, Every time I watch a knitting podcast, somebody is making one of these. It's such a great and easy and fun pattern to knit. I think it's because it's on such big needles, but I already want to knit another one. This is my second. I knit one and gifted it to my midwife a few months ago, and then I made this one for Winnie, and I think I'm going to make one for myself, probably maybe September. I have a lot of plans for August, so maybe September I'll get to it. And it doesn't really get cold here till December, so I have a bit of time to get through all of my fall and winter knitting goals. So anyways, I have all of the modifications I made for this on my Ravelry page if you want specifics, but basically I used a fingering weight yarn. I went down a needle size. I think I used I used 5mm needles. I basically divided the pattern into 2/3 and knit it to that, so I cast on 46 stitches. I shortened the yoke just a little bit. I didn't really have to, but I wanted to just so there wasn't so much. I knit it to the length that I would need for her. I skipped the extra detail when you're knitting the sleeves, and then I just did an I-cord bind off like it recommends. I do not like doing twisted rib, so there's no twisted rib on this Ranunculus. I just did your standard 1x1, and I did the double twisted loop cast on because that's what I like for the Ranunculus, and I think it looks beautiful. I am very happy with this sweater. I feel a lot of pride when I look at it. The fact that I dyed the yarn it myself, and then I had enough skill to modify a pattern that's an adult one size only pattern to fit my 2-year-old perfectly. I am very pleased with this. I started out, I first cast on half the amount of stitches recommended, but since I went down a needle size and I'm using fingering weight yarn, it was definitely going to be too small. So I ended up doing 46 stitch cast on, and it's pretty perfect. She loves this sweater, and it's airy enough that she can wear it through the fall here in Arizona, even though it doesn't really get that cold. So there it is, a tiny baby Ranunculus. I don't have much to say on it, but again, more detailed information is on my Ravelry. That was my finished object number 2. So finished objects 3 and 4 are kind of the same thing. It's baby sweaters, and one of them I don't have with me because it was a gift for my mom's coworker who is having a baby, and it is the baby Calendula sweater. It's just a standard raglan tiny sweater, so cute. So the first one I knit, I used Drops cotton merino in a beautiful blue color. I knit the smallest size recommended needles. I have the picture of it on my Ravelry if you want to see it. Super basic long sleeve. This one is also for a friend who is having a baby in a few months, and I knit a short sleeve version. I think I did 3 to 6 months because I feel like these are pretty big. And I used I used Knit Picks Swish in DK. I can't remember the color, but I'll put it somewhere. And I modified this a bit by doing a rolled collar, so I just knit the recommended amount of 1x1 rib, and then I purled a row, knit a few more rows of 1x1 rib, and then knit it together. I really like knitted collars. I think they just give it a really nice finished look, and it almost looks more store-bought to me. So here it is. Like I said, I just shortened the sleeves a bit. I was having a lot of issues with this sweater. I don't know what it was. I have knit this exact sweater using this exact yarn a few times. I'm very familiar with it, and for some reason with this yarn it just felt different. I don't know if it was because of the color, but I was having a lot of tension issues, and if you look at it closely you can really tell, but the person I'm gifting it to hopefully won't notice because she doesn't knit. But there it is. There's not much I can say about it. I've knit this sweater 7 times now. This is my 7th Calendula baby sweater. It's just a really great pattern. I'll probably be knitting a few more because my youngest has outgrown all of his newborn sweaters that I knit him, and I'll be making him a few more for this fall and winter season. So I had an extra ball of it left, so I knit her a matching pair of bloomers to go with it. So let me move on to that quickly. These are a pattern by Misha and Puff. They are a knitwear company. They sell their knitted pieces, but they also have a few patterns. They're very popular in the Instagram mom community, if you're a part of that at all, and I cannot afford to buy their pre-made pieces. Luckily, I do have the skill to just make them myself. So anyways, these are the Misha and Puff baby bloomers. I'm obsessed with this pattern. These are exactly how I want my baby bloomers to look. They are perfect. I have knit and looked at a few other baby bloomer patterns, and they're not really how I like to dress my kids, but these ones are absolutely perfect. So let me talk about them for a second. Again, I did use the Knit Picks Swish DK. I used recommended needles for the entire thing. Oh wait, I didn't, I lied. It calls for a 3.5 millimeter on the ribbing for the top and on the legs. I used a 3.25 because that is what I have in my Chow Goo shorties, and I really like using those. So this is a super easy and fast pattern. You can knit this in a day. It takes absolutely no time, especially since it's on DK weight. I feel like a lot of baby patterns use fingering and that's what makes it take longer, but this flies off the needles. There is an I-cord that you do, and they do call for you to put bobbles at the end of the I-cord. I did it on the first pair that I knit. It's fine, nothing special, just seems like a lot of extra work for something that doesn't really matter. So I did not put them on these ones, and I feel very fine about it. I like bobbles. I feel like they're very in right now, especially on kids' clothing, but I don't want to do them, so I didn't, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't really have much to say about this pattern. It's knit in one piece, which I love, because another pair of bloomers that I've knit, it's knit flat and then you seam it together. That is something I don't particularly enjoy doing. So it's just knit in one piece down. There are some short row shaping on the butt, which is super easy. I think it calls for the wrap and turn, and I just do German short rows because those are what's natural and easy for me. And then you Kitchener stitch the bottom together, and then you just pick up stitches to do the ribs around the legs. And this is a super, I just can't say enough about this pattern, but I love it so much. I'm going to be knitting more of these for sure. You'll probably be seeing a lot of these in the coming months, especially as it cools down. And I think I'm going to try to modify these to do a pair of pants as well. I think it shouldn't be that hard, but I think Wilder would look really cute in just some little pants like this. That's one of my plans. Take a sip of water real quick. Okay, so the next finished object I actually don't have with me again. I gifted it to somebody. I do a lot of gift knitting, but I did the Leyla Bralette, I believe it's called. Again, I'll have it somewhere on the screen or somewhere below, and I'll put a picture of it as well. And it is just this beautiful lace knitted bralette, and I love it so much. Definitely not something you typically see for knitted items, which is why I fell so in love with it. And I gifted it to my younger sister. So here's the thing. I did what I always do. I measured myself, and it said to knit a size 1. I think the smallest size is 0, and then it goes 1 and 2, and then upwards. So it said to knit myself a size 1. And I was like, all right, this is what the pattern recommends. I'm not gonna follow it. I'm gonna knit myself a size 2. And it ended up being too big. So yeah, I knit it using King Cole Cotton Soft DK in the color Fudge. It's this beautiful, like kind of purplish, grayish brown. I bought it because when you hear the word fudge, I thought of brown. I was like, this is gonna be a nice brown color, and I knit most things for myself in the color brown. In fact, it definitely was pretty purple, but it still is a really beautiful color. I knit the bralette 2 pattern, however, I did do an elastic band at the bottom to give it a lot more support. So you start at the bottom and you knit up, and you do twisted rib. I didn't do twisted rib, I just did normal rib. And then I did an extra purl row, did more ribbing, and then folded it up and knit it together again so it had a nice cuff that held the elastic band in. And she does have recommendations for that. Her instructions are a little bit different, but her pattern is so thorough and so inclusive, and there's so many ways to customize it to your bust size. I so recommend her pattern. It was incredible. I really enjoyed it. Anyways, then you start on the lace detailing. It's beautiful, so simple, so easy to memorize. And you do the lace on the front and the back panel, and then you just eventually are working on the front to do the rest of the shaping, and then you do I-cords for the straps. And again, this was like literally, I think it took me 2 days to knit. It could have easily taken me one, but I tend to hop from project to project, and I work on like one project for an hour or two, and then I switch to the next, just so that I feel like I'm making progress on all of my whips. But I am going to be knitting this again for myself. I'm going to make a size 1. A few modifications I'm going to make. The ribbing calls for 3.5 millimeter, and then when you do the actual bralette section of it, it calls for 4 millimeter. It still covered everything, but it definitely was a little more airy than I would have wanted. So I'm going to knit the entire thing using 3.5 millimeters next time. I am going to also omit one of the purl details. So there's like the lace section, and then on the side there's an extra row of purling that goes all the way up. It's really pretty. I just felt like it made it a little more see-through in my opinion. Again, everything was covered. I felt very comfortable in it. I have some pictures that I'll be inserting on the screen, but just for soundness of mind, I'm going to skip that detail. Just the one little purl that goes up all the way to the top. The rest of it I'll be doing. I'm also probably going to be skipping the lace detail that's on the back of the bralette, just because I felt it was unnecessary, and it'll make it faster if I don't put it there. It didn't do anything special for me. Again, it's beautiful. I love it. I just felt like it didn't add anything to the bralette, so I'm gonna skip it. And I think I'm gonna be doing it in a cotton merino, because I have this beautiful blue color that I'll be showing you. My sister gifted to me, and I think that if I held it double, it's a fingering weight, that it'll look really nice in it. So that's one of my plans. I might cast that on tonight or tomorrow and work through that as fast as I can, because it's hot in Arizona for a really long time, so I'll be getting a lot of wear out of it. I think that's all I have to say about the bralette. I really recommend you try it on as you go if you are able and have the needles to, especially when you're doing the I-cord. I shortened my I-cords by a lot because me and my sister both have like relatively short shoulders, so especially because like I-cords can stretch out a bit. I just tried it on a lot. Like I would knit a few rows and try it on again and just see where the I-cord hit me, and then I had my husband help me like pin them where they needed to be so that they were going to fit perfectly and they were even. But again, I really love this pattern. I can't wait to knit another one. I'm pretty excited. I think I'm going to knit myself a tank top as well and just go like longer so it's more of a crop and not just a bralette. But I don't know, I have a million knitting plans. We'll see when they actually happen. Anyways, I'm going to move on to my last finished object. I have a lot to say about this one because it was a lot of work. So here's a little backstory. I'm doing a little knit along with some friends on Instagram. It's very casual. We're just all knitting raglan sweaters. Super fun. The blue one that I showed you was one of them, and I was knitting a basic raglan and then a more difficult one. So I picked the Friday sweater by PetiteKnit. I think this is the mini size. I knit a size 2-3. And I really thought this was going to be a pretty fast knit. Baby sweaters I can bust through super quickly. However, this is on really tiny needles using fingering weight yarn, and it's broken rib, and it took forever. Let me show it to you. So here it is. It is a striped sweater. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Like this is freaking cute. I love it so much. So I posted on my story that I was going to make this, and a friend of mine messaged me and was like, oh my gosh, this looks like something my son would wear. And I was like, if you want to buy the yarn, I'll knit it. At the time, that I was ordering yarn for the sweater, I didn't like want to be spending extra yarn. I didn't want to be spending extra money to buy yarn. So I was like, if you want to buy the yarn, I'm doing a knit along, I'll knit it for you, which I don't usually do. But she said yes, and she picked Knitting for Olives merino in cream and robin. So the cream is obviously the white and the robin is the red. On the back, you can kind of see where I carried the yarn all the way down. But anyways, this is a beautiful sweater. It has a rolled collar again. I feel like almost everything I knit ends up having some kind of rolled something, but it has a rolled collar. It is a raglan sweater. It is a bit difficult because just setting up the actual raglan stitch markers was a bit confusing. I definitely struggled with it. I had to pull out and frog back a few rows when I first started it because I had to move my markers a bit, and then once I got them established, it was easy peasy, super fast to go. This sweater took me almost an entire month. Today is the 29th, I think, and I cast this on the 1st. I finished it last night. I did not think it was going to take me that long. But I don't really have much to say about this. I knit a size 2 to 3, but I knit the length a size 1, 2, and I'm really glad I did because the little boy who is going to be wearing the sweater is pretty petite. I tried it on my 2-year-old today, and she is a little bit above average, I would say, and it fits her pretty perfectly. So I think it's going to be a little big on him, but he can wear it maybe for 2 years. And anyways, it's knit on 3mm needles in broken rib. Broken rib is my downfall. I love the fabric this makes. Oh my gosh, it is so squishy, so beautiful. It feels so nice, but specifically broken rib, my hands do not like. I was having a lot of pain this month while knitting. I had to take like a full week off. So I'm pretty proud with the amount of stuff I knit, even though I took a week off. But I'm a little bummed because I had bigger goals for this month. It's fine. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I also realized that using my bamboo needles was causing a lot more pain than using metal needles, and that's pretty unfortunate because I have an interchangeable bamboo set. So I'm hoping that I can slowly like transition over to getting metal needles. I just had an easier time working with them. So just that little disclaimer. It wasn't just this sweater. That's why this sweater took so long, because I could only put in about half an hour of work on it a day. And I was trying to take a lot of breaks, give myself some grace. So this would have been a lot faster if I had been able to work on it as I wanted to. And I think that I'm gonna get some metal needles and see if that makes it a little bit easier, because I have a lot of projects I want to knit that call for 3mm, and that's very daunting to me. So I think that's all I have to say about this sweater. It's beautiful. It's so cute. I didn't really think this was my style, which is why I was fine knitting it for a friend, because I really wanted to make this, but it's not something I would typically put on my kids. And then when I tried it on my daughter today, I was like, heck, that's cute. So I don't want to, but I think I'm going to be knitting more of these. I have a lot of sweater plans for my kids that I'll talk about, but this wasn't originally one of them, and now I think it is, and that sucks because that takes freaking forever. Anyways, I'm going to show you a few quick acquisitions, so if you're not into that, feel free to sign off here. Alright, first, I'm not doing this in order of when I bought it, I'm just pulling stuff out of this bag. The first bit of yarn I want to show you, I am really excited about. I have not really been into indie dyed yarns. I just couldn't really afford it, honestly, and I prefer tonals. Like, I just prefer solid yarns. That's my style. But Sewrella Yarn did a Disney collection a few months ago, and I missed it, and I'm really bummed because Disneyland is one of my favorite places in the world. I haven't been in like a year and a half because of everything that's been going on, and I didn't buy anything from that collection. But a few weeks ago they had a few colors that they were going to be posting on their website, and I snagged one. So here it is. I am not a pink person. I am not like this is not my color palette at all, but this is Main Street. Main Street is my favorite place in Disneyland. I could spend the entire day at Disneyland just walking Main Street. I cry every time I walk through it. It just feels so magical. And for some reason, because we went to Disneyland every year growing up, that is where I just have the most memories. Like, I remember the rides and I remember, you know, taking pictures with characters, but being on Main Street is just the most nostalgic place for me. I love it so much. So I got myself a skein of Main Street in their nylon sock. And I'm gonna knit myself a pair of socks. And then we're planning on going to Disneyland hopefully in September or October. I'm gonna wear these and I'm gonna cry and it'll be magical. I have a few patterns that I'm playing around with. I'm not gonna do anything too detailed because I want you to just be able to appreciate the yarn, but I think I'm gonna do maybe some stripes or something. I haven't officially decided yet, but this is it, Main Street, and I just cannot wait. I have some more yarn coming from Sewrella Yarns. I ordered it from her Ariel collection, the Little Mermaid collection, and I ordered some more pinks and purples for my daughter, and I'm gonna knit her a striped sweater that I'm very excited about, and she is going to be very excited about. Well, let me tell you, this girl and her pinks and purples, I don't know how it happened, but okay, there's that. I also saved the bag that it came in because it has a picture of Disneyland, and I think I'm gonna cut it out and like frame it or something. Is that weird? I don't know. I love this bag. That's so freaking cute. Okay, so this is a very random thing that never happens to me, but my birthday was in March, and yesterday my sister gave me my birthday present a few months late, but she's not really like a birthday gift giver, and she knows how much I love yarn, and she bought me yarn, my favorite yarn, which is Knitting for Olive. I was shocked. So she got me 2 balls of their merino in the color dark cognac. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I just love brown. Like, this is so me. This is the perfect color. And I think I'm gonna knit a beanie for myself out of this. I think I'm gonna maybe knit like the hipster hat by PetiteKnit. I haven't officially decided, but I have such a hard time using my yarn on myself. I always feel like I don't deserve it, and then I end up frogging projects, and that's really dumb of me to do. But this yarn is just such a nice, beautiful brown color. I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe I'll just order a few more and like knit myself a sweater or something. Or I was thinking of making camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, but I just can't decide. But I love it so much. Or the simplistic V-neck cami by, I think it's Leyla. I don't know yet. But I love this color and I love this yarn. Now, she also got me 2 balls of their cotton merino in the color Elephant Blue. Here is what is so crazy, is that I had 3 balls of this already that I had bought to make something else, and then I didn't make it. So now I have 5 balls of this, which means that I could definitely make myself like a garment of some kind, especially if I hold it double and make it DK. I'm so excited. Me and my sister just have like such similar taste. The fact that she bought me yarn I already have. That's how well that she knows my color palette. And I love this color. I don't typically wear blue unless it's like a vintage denim. But my youngest son's middle name is Blue because I've really gotten into the color. So now I'm gonna knit myself something blue. And I think that I might use one of the balls to knit him something to match me. I think what I'm gonna knit is the So Summer Shorts by Jessie May Designs, and I'm gonna knit myself the Leyla bralette to match it. That is what I'm feeling, but I have not confirmed it yet. I'll get back to you next month to let you know what I've knit with this, but yeah, they're beautiful. Then I placed an order back in the beginning of July because somebody was having a Canada Day sale. I don't live in Canada, but it was still cheaper to buy it through the sale than it was to buy it normally. So I bought myself some Knitting for Olive merino in the color Brown Nougat. I got 9 balls of this. Again, Knitting for Olive is my favorite yarn because it's so soft, but mainly their color palette is amazing. I use a lot of Knitting for Olive. You're gonna just find that out if you keep watching these podcasts. This is a very frequent, I mean, look at this. Knitting for Olive, Knitting for Olive. Everything is Knitting for Olive. I love them a lot. So, long story short, I decided I was going to make myself a cardigan because, again, I'm a mom who is constantly nursing a baby or baby wearing. And sweaters are kind of hard to nurse in, and they just get all bunched up. But cardigans I wear a lot, like just things I can throw over flannels, cardigans, like button-ups. I love them because you can just throw them over a tank top, and they work great for baby wearing, super great for breastfeeding. So I was like, if I'm gonna knit myself something, I want it to be practical. If I'm making the investment of buying yarn, I want it to be something I'm gonna wear a lot. So I'm just gonna knit myself a nice brown cardigan. I have been playing around with cardigan patterns that I want to knit. I have 3 I'm deciding between. I think I've about narrowed it down though, and I'm really excited. I'm not excited to knit a cardigan per se because I prefer knitting sweaters, but we are going to do it. I have knit a cardigan before. I knit one for my grandma a few months ago. Looked beautiful, turned out fine. I can make it happen. I just don't like all the finishing work. You finish it and you're like, I did it, and then it's like, no, you didn't, because you have to pick up and knit a dang button band, and it's kind of a bummer, but it'll be for myself, and I'm a lot more motivated to knit stuff for myself because I never do it. So there we have it. I don't really have any works in progress right now. I actually just went through and frogged a bunch of stuff last night. I had been knitting the Sew Summer Shorts by Jessie May Design. I was over halfway done, and I frogged it because it just wasn't exactly what I wanted. And I have a pair of socks that I'm knitting for my husband. They're the little box socks. They're the little box socks by Summerly Knits, but I've made almost no progress on them, so I'm not gonna show them to you. They were for his birthday, which was in May, and I'm just not like a sock knitter. I prefer knitting sweaters, and he specifically wanted socks. But we had a long conversation the other day, and I was like, bro, I just need you to pick out a sweater, and it'll be done in like a few weeks. Just pick out a sweater. So we're gonna switch and do a sweater. I'm gonna try to finish the socks, but I have a lot of knitting plans for the month of August that I'm pretty excited for, but I'm a little overwhelmed trying to pick what to start with, and I'm trying not to do that to myself because knitting is like, you know, it's like a sanctuary to me, and I want to keep it that way, and I don't want to make it stressful, so I need to stop stressing myself out about knitting. And I digress. That is all, folks. That was kind of long. I hope you enjoyed watching. You can go and follow me on Instagram if you want to see better pictures of everything. I try to be really good about posting my progress and my finished objects over there. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next month.